working against us, we will have to be in a united body. So the revolution in Iran, one of its first activities was to establish Unity Week. Unity Week technically was based around the birthday of the Prophet ﷺ. The Sunnis said one day, and the Shia said another. They were about a week apart. So Imam Khomeini, maybe it was Ayatollah Montazeri, he said, we're going to take that whole week in between and call that Unity Week. And there's programs and seminars and meetings all over the world during that period. That Unity Week still exists, but it is not as big as it was before. In the meantime, Saudi Arabia was spending in those days millions and billions of dollars to get control of the Islamic movement. Now, during the 70s, like if you look at America, well, okay, during the late 50s, let's say during the 60s and the 70s, we know Sayyid Qutb was martyred in Egypt in 1966. Now his brother Muhammad Qutb migrated to Saudi Arabia. And not me, but many of the brothers would visit with him. Many of the brothers went to study in Saudi Arabia. And they wanted the same fire coming out of him that came out of his brother. But he said, y'all can see my situation. In other words, Ikhwan, anybody that went to Saudi Arabia was made totally quiet. I'll give you an example from my history. Do y'all remember Brother Idi Amin? Do you remember the lies they told about? Now, I was in Africa. I'm telling you, you think I'm lying. I'm always telling these wild stories. In the summer of '71, I moved from Algeria to Tanzania. But you had to go across the top of North Africa to Egypt. And then Egypt, you would take flight south. Going south, we stopped in Sudan. Since we were, the next stop was Entebbe. Do you know we saw Negroes with long, they looked like muskets, not rifles, AK-47s. And then we went on to Dar es Salaam. Pretty soon we heard rumblings about somebody, the president of Milton Obote, the president of Uganda, was now living in Dar es Salaam. He was a friend of Walimu. Walimu Julius Nyeri, you know, one of our great personalities in African liberation, a good man. He's a Christian, no, but he's a good man. He's one of the only people ever retired in Africa. Nelson Mandela and him. The other Negroes, you got to drag them out feet first or something. They just don't believe in handing over power to other people. But Julius Nyeri was like that. Well, we found out that the British and Americans had went to a sergeant who was and the Scottish Rifles, they called him, of all things, and told him, boy, you want to be president? And this president's acting funny. You want to be president of Uganda? Yes, sir. Well, you promised to be a good nigger. Yes, sir, boss, I'll do just like you say. You know, I'm born and bred in colonialism. I know what is going on. All right, we're going to make you the chief of Uganda. You are now, they threw Milton Obote out, their homeboy from before, and they brought in Idi Amin. Good God Almighty. That is the lionest man in the world. Not the black people, but the white folks. The next thing, you ever see the Idi Amin sitting in one of them big sedan chairs? You know that they used to carry the king on, there's 4 people, and they got the king sitting in the chair. The next thing you saw is white folks carrying Idi Amin in a sedan chair. He run out all the Asians. Poor Asians, they got that bad, but he run them all out. I think y'all can remember that. The next thing we start hearing, now, he was the most loved man in Africa. Everybody wanted to throw out their colonial collaborators, but they didn't have the nerve. Idi Amin threw them out, and the next thing we heard about, no, we were right next door, so we know better. Oh, he wasn't eating little baby, but he was sacrificing little African children, you know. And they had hints of cannibalism type stuff in there. And so, finally, they got rid of the brother. You know where he went to? Saudi Arabia. He only died about 10 years ago. But it was like he had died. You never heard nothing from him. Our brothers went to talk to him, and he said the same thing. See where I am? I can open my mouth and get handed to the white folks on a silver platter, and they'll strangle me up upside down. I can keep my mouth shut. I'm here in Saudi Arabia. I have refuge here. This is the point. I just want to tell you the point about Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia spent all of its wealth to, in America, in the late 70s, if you wanted a campus and you wanted to build a little masjid, you could go to Saudi Arabia and get a little money. You know, one of the most famous Negroes, I don't know his name, they say his name is Khalid Yassin. He went over to Africa, and the guys are actually, you can see them on all kind of videos, don't nobody know the history. Only thing I know was in '81 when I went to New York to hang out with the brothers of the Islam movement, there he was. And they said, yeah, he's here trying to hang out with us now because he just got kicked out of his masjid. He went over to Saudi Arabia and got a bucket full of money, came back and bought a red Cadillac. You know, that's still at the Cadillac days. So the community got rid of him. Shoot, 20 years later, he surfaced in Australia somewhere, known as a sheikh. But we don't go around telling people all that, that's their business. I didn't even mean to mention that. But what I was going to do was just say that you could get money and help from Saudi Arabia in those days. All of a sudden, you wanted to build a masjid in this town or that town, they would help you. But by 1979, 1980, it hit hard in 1980. That's a year after the revolution. The Islamic Revolution in Iran was on the road, and all the people of the world was cheering about it. Yay, that's great. Pakistan, you know, when the U.S. tried to take over the U.S. Embassy, I mean, they tried to come back in the Tabaz expedition, they had riots in Pakistan, everybody was happy. The Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan because it was destabilized. You know why they invaded? Because they said it might go the same way as Iran. It's on the border of Iran. People are basically the same culturally, and a lot, you know, the language. Dari and Farsi, in fact, they speak Old Farsi in Afghanistan. So anyway, all of that is setting the world stage. I'm going to go on and speed up. Finally, let's get to the point. Over the past years, we've had a lot of fitna, a lot of disunity. And the main perpetrator of that is Saudi Arabia. In all the books and literature you guys are here in D.C., if you were to think back, all kind of fitna books against Shias. Shias believe this, Shias believe that. Oh my goodness. I done seen, I got photocopies of Surah Fatima, that's supposed to be an extra surah in the Quran that Shias have, and Sunnis don't have it. I have heard firsthand about the Quran of Ali, which is 3 times bigger than the Quran that anybody else has. Y'all didn't know it was a Quran of Ali, did you? Well, neither did nobody else. But here's the thing. Ali radiallahu anhu was one of the recorders of Quran. So he was literally right now. So Prophet ﷺ would relate what was related to him to other people, and they could write it down. One of the main ones was Ali radiallahu anhu. Now, here's what Ali would do. You know, like if you just get strictly Arabic Quran, it's about this thing. But if you get a Yusuf Ali, anything else, it's about this thing. Why? Because of the commentary. The reason that the writings or recordings of Imam Ali was 3 times thicker because he had notes in it. It was raining that day. The sun was shining. So-and-so walked in at that time. You know what I mean? We stopped for Asr prayer. All of that. So somebody came in and they looked at what he had and they said, oh, what you have is 3 times more than what we have. And so this is just a saying, a historical saying. But the Saudis don't take it like that. No, they say, no, the Shia's got a Quran that's 3 times as big as what y'all got. I'm going to skip the lies. I'm going to go straight to the point. We're in a world situation right now. The Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, it's the Qadr of Allah, have given the Shia community the mantle, I don't want to call it a leadership, of the world and the global transformation of Islam during this period. You can see it everywhere. And Saudi Arabia is the one that helped engineer it. Let's look at the history right now. In Iraq, nothing but bombings and slaughter of Shias, even the As-Sabiqun, this is the one, the main big centers for Shias, blown up. Centers all over the world, blown up. When? Almost every day. If you stay in the foreign press, there's a bombing either in Iraq, there's a group of people in Pakistan and Afghanistan known as Hazaras. They're Shias, but they look different than other Pakistanis. They look a little Asian. If you ever seen any Afghanis or some Iranians, but you probably, unless you've been in Iran, they almost look Chinese. Have you ever seen any? They almost got the same, well, okay. But they named Khan, right? Does that mean Genghis Khan came down, and that's where they got the name from. From Khutbah, the little boy, and all of that. So they're bombed and killed all the time in Pakistan because they look different than the other Pakistanis. They are tribe, and they look different. They're Shias. Saudi Arabia has spent billions of dollars against Shias and against Iran. It's not just the Hajj this time or last year, right? Most of the people killed was from Iran. Most of the people around the world believe it was engineered because the Iranians are, where are the Iranians at? They're right there. And if you stop the traffic, at that time when the people is making going back and forth between the mountains and what happened, now it's not out in the open, it's in big tunnels, air-conditioned tunnels. If you got 2 million people, 2.5 million people, making a move, and they're all in a spiritual ecstasy, right? And you interrupt the flow, people start falling down, and the people in the back don't know what's going on. They just keep on coming. Pretty soon, it's like them pileups. You don't have it much here, but on I-5, they have big, in California. In Central Valley, they have maybe 200-300 miles of fog sometimes, thick fog, you can't see it. So if you're out on I-5 and there's an accident, that accident piles up for 200 miles maybe. Because the people coming don't see. When they get up on you, it was too late, right? It's the same thing at Hajj. But the Hajj that we know where there was murder, criminal activities, the Hajj of 87. And over 650 Hujjaj from Iran was killed. I don't have to mention all these tragedies, but I want to mention these tragedies to show that there has been a constant stream of fitna to try to destroy and to try to discredit the Islamic Republic. Try to discredit Shiism. Try to make it look like something other than what it is. Exaggerations and out lies. I know they lied because as soon as I heard them, I went and studied it thoroughly, in depth, over and over again. So I know when they start talking, I know what what we agree with, and I know what we disagree with. But one thing I never do, you ain't never heard me get into no discussion about Sunni and Shiism. I'll explain what's going on, but you ain't never heard me get into no discussion or argument about it. Why? Because it's been 35 years ago that I started going after 5 years of intensive study, right? From Qom to Tehran to all the centers here to having probably 200 programs with the biggest ulama in the world and listening to them, and then they listen to you. Remember, if you go to big seminars on a regular basis for about 10 or 15 years, it's like going to a classroom to study Islam and world events. You know why? You got all the big people in Islam giving lectures, and you sitting in on all of them, especially in the early days, because you want to get up on everything. You listening and keeping notes, da-da-da-da-da. And pretty soon, you look up in 5 years, you be up on everything. Why? Because you done heard it. It's like you've taken a class on global events related to Islam, related to colonialism, except you've taken it from the highest authorities in Islam. And you've been everywhere doing it. You've been in Iran, listening to them. You've been in Europe, listening to them. And then you also associated with all the people that's mainly in power right now. When Rashid Ghanouchi and all those people, when they go to Tunisia, right? After they get rid of the dictator, here comes Rashid Ghanouchi. Who is he? He's a friend of ours. Why? Because all of us was on the outs in those days. So anybody come in now, we all own folks. But I'm going to try to be brief. It's really difficult. What I'm trying to say is that just think of Shias like African Americans. They're a minority, but in the 50s, 60s, and the 70s, African Americans on this side of the world led the world in liberation, civil rights, human rights. Everybody referred to the African Americans as icons, and there was nobody else. Why? Because of the position they took and the power of the people that was involved. Now, they people were worldly, so Malcolm X, he's the one who would teach us about South Africa and everything else, and colonialism and all of that, right? Even they just found a lecture by Nelson Mandela that he did 2 or 3 days before, when he was in Europe to take the Nobel Peace Prize. Anybody in that lecture? And he was talking about Nelson Mandela, apartheid, South Africa, and they said they lost it. They are lost behind. Great lecture. But look what it would have done for us if we would have knew about it. Anyway, we're going to keep on. So right now, we believe that Allah has blessed the Shia community just like it blessed the African American community. To lead the world through this process that we're going through now. Just like you and I, ain't nobody going to get it for free. So there's things that they would have to do. Some of the things are very simple, like how to teach in order to lead the whole world. Now remember, before we was talking about Unity Week, and we couldn't do it. We couldn't pull it off. We didn't have the ability. But Allah has now forced the Muslims together in unity. And this struggle will not be Sunni and Shia. It will be the Shia community against the evil. Imagine, Saudi Arabia produced some people so evil in real life that they were more evil than the imaginary evil of Shiism. Daesh, Boko Haram, right? People that just cut people's head off for nothing. Everybody's head. Cut off Christians' head. Cut off Muslims' head. Just cut off anybody's head. No trial, no nothing. They just do it, and they do it in front of the camera. And they bomb and they kill and they murder everybody. And the people know who supported them. Saudi Arabia supported them, isn't that right? Saudi Arabia developed them. So now the whole world is up against, right, that evil enemy, the Daesh, Boko Haram, whatever you call them, Al-Qaeda, all of those people are products of Saudi. Even today, last week, they talking about they have given the Americans the ability to sue Saudi Arabia for 9/11. Why? Because I don't know, 13, so many of them, Saudi Arabia. But they had hung up some of Iran's funds to give to the Americans, right? Because Iran's supposed to have something to do with it. Now it's all changed. So here's where we are. Just like the whole world is staged and everyone will play a part, right? You're going to play one part or another. You here, you're going to play a part or another. We have a chance to play a major part in the world today. You and I, right here. Whether you like it or not, if you come here, you're playing a part. Just by coming here, you are playing a part. You've seen all the newspaper articles and every time you look up, so you know something's going on. You may not know the depth, but something is going on here. So the whole world is staged, everyone will play a part. The Shia community have to choose the part that they want to play. The reason? They put this article in the main newspaper in Iran because it says Walayati Faqih. I can't read the rest, but it is a protection against fitna. I don't know how this is Farsi, not Arabic, but it's the same. Fitna. That's how they would say it. Fitna. Walayati Faqih. That's what Imam Khomeini was the first Walayati Faqih. It was a change in Shiism. The Shias were like Jews in a way. Not the Jews in practice, but in their like the Jews didn't believe in Jesus because they said he's not the Messiah. Right? That's what the Jews said. Okay? Shia said for a global transition to happen, Imam Mahdi has to come. That's one of the cornerstone pillars of Shia. Imam Mahdi. All Muslims believe in Imam Mahdi. The Sunnis believe in Imam Mahdi about 92% the same. There's only one element about Imam Mahdi. There's difference between Sunnis and Shias. Shias believe he's the 12th Imam based on Quran. I mean Hadith, Sahih Bukhari, there'll be 12 chiefs. They say he was the 12th one, but all the other Imams were martyred. Shias believe that Imam Mahdi was born. And at 3 years old, he went into occultation because of hiding. They call it ghaib. There's two hidings. Ghaibatul Shukra, that's the first 70 years. When Imam Mahdi is in contact with naibs, people that give orders to the Shia community. Then, after 70 years, it's Ghaibatul Kubra. That means a great hiding. He's been in occultation since then, maybe 1,200 years or so, up until now. But they believe in Raja, that he will return. The Sunnis believe that Imam Mahdi will be born. I like the best answer to that. It's a big program in Texas. And it's mostly Shias up there, but there was, the speakers were Sunnis. So Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui was asked, well, if all of what you say is such and such, why? Basically, it was actually, why aren't you Shia? And he explained to them, we're Sunnis are a little different than Shias. Your whole system, education, is based on the position you took. So you teach people this happened and that happened, and that's the first thing you get. So Sunnis don't do that. So, and all of us in here, except for a few poor African Americans, are Sunnis or Shias because where they was born and their family. And nobody in here made no right, which is true. He said, I tell you what. He said, isn't there a hadith that says when Imam Mahdi comes, he will kill 40 crooked ulama, 40,000 crooked ulama. So the Shia said, yes, of course, that's true. He said, I tell you what, this is what Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui said. He said, if he comes on our watch, you provide 20,000 names and we'll provide the other 20,000 Sunni names that you ought to cut to the head of these bombs. This is the best answer I ever heard. So it was, this group, so-called Sunnis, were concerned with Islam and the growth and development of the Islam throughout the world. And we have stacks of papers and writings and teachings from literally everybody. But to the subject of Shias, just like you and I have to grow and you have to develop in order to reach your destiny, so does everybody else. So there's a few things that we believe that are in order. Number one, teach Shiism the way it is. Just teach, this is what we do, this is what we believe. And my favorite book is Alama Tabatabai. You know the book I said? It's called Shia Islam. Boy, is it a good book. But it don't talk about who did this and who did that. It tells, this is what we believe, this is what Taqiyya is, this is what Imamate is, on and on and on. And it teaches what Shiism is. But it don't teach you all of what. See, if you go, the first thing you go to a bunch of Sunnis and you tell them, now, see, now you know, Abu Bakr was a little sick. You're going to turn them out right away. Umar actually assaulted Fatima. She miscarried. Okay. So you're going to have some good relations? Absolutely not. You can call it a day. It never has worked. It ain't going to work. So if you ain't got no more sense than that, follow the Christians. Follow the Christians. You know, most of us were Baptists. Isn't that right? Most of the Baptists kind of something. With all the Baptists, I think. Don't be lying now. I mean, you know, if you was a Negro, what else? Okay, you might have been an AME. Was that AME? Maybe 2 or 3 of them. But the rest of us was Baptists. Now, let's get to the point. That means you were Protestant. Whatever we was Protestant. Only a few Negroes from Louisiana was Catholics, right? All the other Negroes is Protestants. You know what Protestant means? Protester. They protested the Pope then. But you don't never hear the teaching that we protest the Pope, we do this, we do that. Do you know how many books do the Protestant Bible have? 66 books. How many books of the Catholic Bible? 72 books. Same Bible, but they got Apocrypha. You ain't never heard them say, we don't follow their Bible because they ain't even got us 6 books in it. You have never heard of it. Why? Because Catholics teach, this is what we believe. We're Catholics. And the Pentecostal and the Baptists or anybody, they teach, this is what we believe. They don't teach, they believe this, I don't believe what they don't, you don't even hear the argument, right? They told you when Kennedy was getting voted in that, hey, we can't trust a Catholic president because he might have allegiance to the Pope. That's the only thing he said. You hear? Suppose me and you had a Quran, but okay, the standard Quran, 114 surahs. Suppose we had 6,242 surahs. I suppose me and you had a Quran, but that's 120 surahs with 8,000 ayahs. Right? Would we be Muslims? We got a Quran with 120. Would we be Muslims? Of course not. Something's wrong with them people. You got extra? Suppose I was like Ghulam Ahmad or somebody. You know, Qadianis. Y'all don't hear about Qadianis now. You hear about Shias. In the old days, it was Qadianis. It was bad guys. Qadianis got Ghulam Ahmad, and so Ghulam Ahmad was claiming to be a prophet after Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if they knew it, you couldn't go to Hajj, nothing else. And there's millions of them around. Everywhere. They got that big masjid, right? It's a beautiful thing right out there. Most of our stuff, right, come through them. The early Negro Muslim. What translation of Quran did you read? Mullah Muhammad Ali. What is the best book up until today on Islam? So for a few pages. The religion of Islam, Muhammad Ali. Where did we get our first hadith? I'm talking about before Bukhari and before Muslim, was the manual of hadith. Y'all old timers remember that? The manual of hadith. Come through Qadianis. The British loved them. You know why? Because they eased out jihad and made it kind of sweetie pie stuff. There's a spiritual jihad and all that. But you know, British colonialism like that. That's why if you're a sweetie pie Muslim and you ain't about no struggle, you'll be on television, on the radio. You'll be everywhere. Think about your famous Muslims. How many of them are there talking about, we have to fight injustice and we have to fight, how many? Which one? Come on now, you can find one. Well, that's the way the British and the Americans are. We're going to get back to the subject. So teach Islam the way it is, according to your beliefs. The Rahbar, Imam Khomeini, look, Shias can get this from the modern source. Imam Khomeini was so unity pushing that a lot of Shias thought he was a closet Sunni. Yes, they did. Some of them were sure. You can't be that in love with people, you know what I mean? And if you read Imam Khomeini's 40 hadith, boy, I'm telling you, it's word for word like Imam Ghazali's. Ayawuddin, I'm telling you, it's almost the same, but it was written back in 1939, 1941 when he was a young guy. And Imam Ghazali, guess what? Ghazali is an Iranian, because Iran was Sunni for 400 years before the Safavids. So it ain't no big deal. But I should speed up because I just lose me. Good God Almighty. I ain't one page. So I'm going to just say these things and keep moving. So if we can't figure out what to do, let's do like the Christians do. Teach what we do. And don't get into they did this and they did that and we don't like them. We don't trust them. That's what Imam Khomeini said. He said, Sunni be more Sunni, Shia be more Shia. That way you'll get back to the original. In other words, go back before it was Sunnis and Shias to the original Muhammadi Islam. That's what Imam Khomeini said. So people thought he is giving up Shiism. When he died, in his will, he left in his will, the first thing he mentioned was Hadith Thaqalain. Hadith Thaqalain. That's telling everybody that we can do the Michael Jackson, the Temptations, we can cross over all we want. That's good. But in the heart, hold on to Thaqalain. Sometime I'll tell you what that is, and you'll pick up on it. Don't you worry. But that's what Imam Khomeini said. So he said you can cross over all you want. Just hold on to the two heavy thaqas. Oh, thaqas, heavy, thick. You hold on to them two things, you'll be all right. You can stretch out all you want and be as hugging and loving as you can. In fact, you ain't going nowhere unless you do. In those days, it didn't work. You couldn't get to nobody. Everything Iran did was wrong. But now, everything Saudi Arabia do is wrong. Saudi Arabia is the biggest idiot in world history. It is the richest Arab country in the world, attacking the poorest. Yemen, his next door neighbor, for nothing. It has created openly not only al-Nusra, Boko Haram, anybody you can name, Saudi Arabia developed. The most hated people. But who's fighting to help the Muslim world stay together? It's not Egypt. Egypt got too many turmoil. No Arab Spring in Egypt. Turkey having coups every day. Turkey is working against their brothers in Syria. Turkey was doing so good. Up to 4 or 5 years ago, they went crazy. Inshallah, they'll get back. Why? Turkey, Egypt, Iran, and the subcontinent. The Safavid dynasty from Iran. Uthmaniyya from Turkey. And the other great Islamic civilization, India, Pakistan, and all of that area, was under one caliphate, under one rule. If we play our cards right, Allah has arranged it. Whether you like it or not, Iran is now the technical leader of the Muslim world. But not for Shiism. This struggle, it will eventually get to probably a physical struggle. But it will all be justified. And the people are like now. They're all pushing Iran. They're all pushing Shias. Why? Because Shias is the only one, right? At this time, they're standing against organized Boko Haram, right? Organized global fitna. Organized bombings and killings of Muslims. So now it's not standing for Shias alone. It's standing for the whole Muslim world. In order for them to do that, they got to grow a little bit. The main thing that I mentioned was how to teach Islam. Teach it the way it is. Next is, there's a resistance to change, and this is natural. I run into it all day, every day, because I've been right in the mix of this. Why they put this here and they don't put it on nobody else? Because the Negro is neutral. I look at everybody and see what they're doing. And I don't care what you say. The life that the Negro had to get through to get to where we are now, he's sharper than everybody. I told us they can't touch the Negro. I'm telling you, I know them all. They ain't sharp as no siree. The Sheikh, he ain't sharp as a Negro. The Ikhwan, they're not sharp as a Negro. You sit right here and heard us say there will be no Arab Spring. And Arabs from Egypt, Ikhwan running to get power, said don't do that. We said it here in the Khutbah. Half of the stuff we didn't say in the Khutbah. You can't say, oh no. They don't. Our batting average, if you bat, what, about 350, you good in baseball, right? Is it pretty good? 350. Suppose you were batting 990. What would you be there? That's our forecasting record. You've been sitting there, listen, think of the stuff you heard a year, 5 years, 10 years ahead of time. They're not sharp as the Negro, because the Negro had it harder than everybody else. Now the Palestinians, and a few more people, but I'm talking about over a long, drawn-out period of time. So that gives you an immunity. When you get kicked in the behind, it don't bother you as much as somebody else. They ain't never been kicked in the behind before. They lose all their composure and everything, and to you it ain't nothing. I'm telling you, I've been to all the conferences, everywhere. Right now, we go right down there to Press TV, worldwide show. They're trying to get us to, this week before last, it was Donald Trump. Donald Trump is causing people to fear. I told them, look, because they're trying to get me to go along with being scared. I said, I'm 71 years old. I've been born here in America. I was born in the South. I moved out to the West and up here in the North. I said, I ain't scared of them people. That's basically what you can't get nobody been through all of that to be scared of old Donald Trump. What old dumb? Y'all can be scared because Donald Trump is causing fitna, got everybody, people burning malls. I said, I don't care about nobody. I said, they've been burning, and they just celebrated the blowing up of the church down in Birmingham, right? In 63 the other day. Might have been yesterday, right? 53rd or 63rd, one of them. Anniversary. Right? How we gonna be? They shoot down goons every other day whenever they get right in the street. I was just hassled last week taking my daughter. The police got us gun. I said, man, F you. here's that ticket. I take the ticket just like everything and throw it in the garbage. They ever want to take me to jail, they know where to find me. But I got so many of them, I don't answer them. And they know they're lying because I ain't got no warrant. After 15 years of throwing away, you ever throw away a ticket and got stopped 6 months later and didn't go to jail? Absolutely not. Neither would I. And you're going to tell the police, sucker man, I don't like the way you're doing this. Can you do that? Right now, the police, I said, what you doing? Put your hands on your gun, sissy. Offend me. Don't do that. I said, look, y'all sit down there and shut up. I'm dealing with this man. I've been dealing with this man all my life. So, they get us down at a TV station, want us to get scared. I said, I'm sorry, I'm not scared of them people. And none of our people are afraid of America. They might do a little snitching here and there, they a little dancing, but most Negroes are not afraid of the system. They get me back, got them 50,000 a year, they do a little telling. But other than that, they ain't gonna, that's all right. Anyway, we're gonna speed up. This lecture, Terrain and World Elections, what did I tell the people? I told the people, visualize the end result of this episode of history. What do you want Iran to look like in 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years? That's why they put it in there, because I said, well, you have to have a national vision. You have to have a national vision of who you want to be and how you want to look. It should be based on Islam and not the politicians. Because at this time, this is from notes in Iran, the politicians, all of my friends, all of them making the 2, 5 plus 1, all they in all the newspapers, peace, and you don't give us back our money and all of that. So if they'd had a presidential election then, one of my best friends would have won. I just folded my arm. Rockwell said, you got to stay on the road, man. We got to have a resistance economy. We can't trust them people. But our friends, we'll see them next week. You know, every knows in this month. September. At the end of September, all the presidents from all over the world come, right? And they'll be at the UN. This next week. So they send an invitation. If they hear this talk, they might take it back. So we'll go like we always do and visit the presidents and all of that. But we've been telling everybody for the last few years, strictly, look, Shias have been given a leadership position. But just like niggas, you can't stay like you are and take care of business. You have to outgrow whatever hold you back. One of the main things holding them back, politicians. They don't want. See, the group, after the revolution, everybody together. But after some revolution, you get a little older, you get people who get a little moderate. They're professors now. They're this, that, and the other. Their kids have just graduated from universities. This is almost 40 years ago. You know, when you're in college, you're jumping up and down about everything. But when you start getting ready to leave the college, what you do? Send out resumes, and you're not voting against the Sandinistas. You're not carrying no flags anymore. Not in the last year, this first 3 years, right? Can you imagine 40 years later? Look at the Negroes that was jumping in the street 40 years ago. What they at now? They're in the old folks' home. Time for rebellion. All my partners got out of the penitentiary after 30 years. Hey man, I know you did a little something. I'm gonna call, get people from overseas, television station want to interview you. I'll be right up there in New York or wherever you at. Hey man, just a minute.